So as I was saying, one more thing I'm going to have you practice is sketching one more scatter plot with the LSRL on that scatter plot. So go ahead and take about 2 minutes, type these X values into your L1, type these Y values into your L2, and then practice turning on your scatter plot and getting your LSRL on that scatter plot. And then we'll cover a couple more definitions before summing this all up and talking about your homework. So 2 minutes. Go ahead and do that. Just over a minute left, but remember, if you are not practicing typing this in on the quiz tomorrow and on your test at the end of this week, if you are not practicing typing this in, remember, Mrs. Wilkes is not going to answer any calculator questions. So you need to be practicing this. So 1 more minute, get that scatter plot and the regression line. Okay, so that should have been enough time to practice that. So let's go ahead and see what your scatter plot and LSRL on that scatter plot should have kind of looked like. So you should have seen something like this. Now remember, we don't mind if you don't scale these axes or label them. Okay, we're really just seeing, did you see the right thing that you were supposed to see? So what we need to talk about now are 2 more definitions, and that's an influential point and an outlier. So there is something very unusual about this data set, okay? So think about which one of these things is not like the other, right? Way out here, we have an influential observation. The reason why this is considered influential is because if we remove this point, so if we get rid of this point, the LSRL is not going to look like this anymore, right? The LSRL will drastically change in its slope, okay? So an influential point is any time that you significantly change the slope if you get rid of that point, okay? So if you can get rid of a point and it definitely is going to change the slope, no matter which way it does, if it definitely changes the slope of the LSRL, that is an influential point, okay? So you have to know it affects the slope. Okay, but there are other types of points. So going back to the original scatter plot, we also have ones that have large residuals. So if you have a very large residual, that is what we're going to call an outlier. So this point out here that was influential is not an outlier. Look how close that is to our LSRL, okay? So you have to be far away from the LSRL to be considered an outlier. So large residuals give you an outlier. And this is perfect proof that not all influential points are outliers and not all outliers are influential points, okay? So keep that in mind, that they don't have to be one to be the other or vice versa. So to show you one more thing, looking at this, so an influential point versus an outlier, we could look at a scatter plot like this. So we could have very, 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 very concentrated data and a point way out here. Oh, and you guys can't even see that. So let me show you once I get back to the other one. There we go. So you could have very, very concentrated data and a point way up there. So notice if you were to put the LSRL, so you'd have it maybe somewhere right about here, right? It's going to try to stay close to those points. but then kind of average out with that point up there as well. I need you to keep in mind that if we get rid of that, does the slope really change? Not so much, right? It's just the y-intercept that changes. It's just going to go down. So that's technically not an influential point as well. That's just an outlier. Okay, so remember, for it to be an influential point, the slope has to significantly change. So that is your very last lesson in statistics for this school year. So let's go ahead and talk about your homework. So this is going to be on page 10 and 11 in your packet, and it's numbers 1 through 13. So obviously I'm going to count it as 13 problems, but every single one needs a sentence. So all need sentences. There's a couple times that they ask you to calculate an outlier. Some of these points you're going to have to just estimate. Like if I ask you about the residual for this point, you just say whether you think that's 73 or 72, whatever. And then they give you the LSRL, okay? So you should be able to find your residuals, just estimate. So I know we don't give you the exact data value, so you're just going to make a best estimation so you can subtract and find that residual value. So I wish you the best of luck on your quiz tomorrow and then your test on Friday. The next set of videos will be our final exam review to help you with that, especially since Mrs. Wilkes hasn't been here all school year. So I'll see you in those, and hopefully you rock it out on this quiz and test. All right, have a good day, guys. Bye. Did I find my little screen? Bye.